I mean, you can go ahead and get the 15% like everybody else.
Right.
You can do that.
Or
You can do that.
get-
That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But
Right.
if you want the real savings,
Yeah.
you got to join Patreon. And listen, I know it's an upfront cost.
Yeah.
But you're going to make it back in the savings. I promise you.
Right.
And welcome back to the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
What's up?
Not much. Not much.
I don't know how to do. I just go straight into it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Pines.
Yep. So her code is 10% off. Riley Black is the code. 10%. Are you good?
My arm got stuck in the chair.
This is a terrible sponsor.
There's a little panic. I got a little panic there. I was like, why can't I move? See, it happened again. I'm gonna take the elevator down instead. Okay. There we go. Oh, see now that's better.
Are we good?
Now we're good.
All right.
Monarch Pines for 10%.
Monarch Pine 10%. Riley Black. Her Etsy is monarchpine.etsy.com. So thanks, Katie, for being a sponsor. What now?
I don't know. I hear something in my headphones.
Oh, my phone.
It's probably the garbage at the end of my driveway, maybe.
Our guest.
Great timing there.
Let's go ahead and welcome Kendra from Kendra Got Wood. How's it going?
Hi.
Hello.
And her garbage.
Yeah, minus my garbage man. The best time to pick up our garbage.
Right, of course.
It makes for a great show.
Right. So how did you get into, first, before I go straight into that question. So I had kind of seen her in the groups and stuff. She does some like awesome shaping and stuff to her pieces. Okay. And Emily, that mom, had featured her 1 month as one of the featured designers. And that's when I really saw like more of her stuff. And yeah, she just kind of came up in my feed again lately. And I was like, oh, that's a good one that I haven't had on lately. So I had to reach out and see if you'd come on. And she clearly
said yes.
Yes.
So how did you get into the laser world? Like, what were you doing before that? And tell us a bit about your journey.
I started with the scroll saw. I've always painted. I've always, liked art in general. So I guess I don't know how far back you want me to go.
I mean,
I feel like the scroll saw is like the gateway to the laser for a lot of us.
Because, totally the gateway drug.
Yeah, because you're cutting stuff out. But I mean, I've always loved art, and then I kind of got into the painting. Did the vinyl cutter thing, and then I got the scroll saw, and then
that's
that was
the
kind
other
of like
drug is the vinyl cutter.
Yeah,
pretty much stereotypical story. Like I did palette signs for a long time, like
of
pretty
course
basic. Like
yeah. Hey, you got to start somewhere, so
true,
and that's a good start.
Yeah.
So, what kind of like scroll do you have, like a niche, or like where's your like art inspiration kind of come from?
Probably, I mean, it just depends on the season or what I have going on. Like for a while I did a lot of the florals and stuff like that. Like that, that's when I kind of like got into the shaping. I feel like everybody kind of starts with the flowers, but that gets like really old fast, you know? And then now I like to do little collections for holidays and stuff. The Halloween stuff is usually pretty popular. So now I'm in Christmas mode at the moment. So I'm doing a lot of that, but it's usually something to keep me busy. But oh, thank you
for it though. It's I'm like, that's adorable. I can't.
It was a ton of work. Actually, I was listening to one of your previous episodes and you had said something about like designing. I think you were talking about like your baby milestones and how much work goes into the design process. And once you get that idea out of your head, you never want to do it again. And like, that's how I felt with it. It took me forever to like put together the file and then actually make the piece. And I'm like, this was cool, but I never want to make another one,
Like, cool, but I'm done.
And
right. Pass it on to the makers so they can do the same thing, make a couple and so what were you doing prior to scroll saw and the vinyl machine? Like, did you have like an office job, or like did you just go straight into this, out of school? Or
I was a waitress, and then I did actually go to college for a little while online. Well, I did the community college thing. I
Yeah.
never knew what I wanted to be, pretty much.
Same.
All I really ever felt like I was good at was art related stuff, but I never really felt like I'd be able to have an actual job doing something in
Me
the art
too.
field. But
Yeah.
so I went to community college and I hated it. It was horrible.
Same.
And then I did the online school thing, and I really didn't hate that, but it kept me super, super busy just going part-time.
Yeah.
And I was like, even if I keep going part-time, I'm not going to graduate for 10 years,
Took
and
me
it's taking
11.
up all of my time. And
Yep.
so I eventually just stopped doing that. It was costing me a ton of money. So
Yeah.
I just randomly, I always just kind of like to do side crafts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would cut out my own stencils with an X-Acto blade and
I
stuff.
love
And
it.
I'm like, oh, there's actually a machine that does this for you.
What?
And
Yeah.
so that was when I kind of got more into signs. And then, I got into the palette type stuff and just really, really slowly built up my collection of tools, honestly.
Yeah.
I
think
this girl,
that's
so I did jigsaw stuff, and I used that for a really long time
right.
too.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I would love to do more. I'm not sure how I would do it with my social anxiety, but I wish more kids knew that if they liked art, that they can turn it into a career.
Yeah.
And it could have just been generational. I assume you're somewhere near around our age. And it never really, you knew artists, but they were never making a lot of money. And if they were, they were the exception to the rule. And it was always you go to school, you go to college, and then you get some kind of corporate job or whatever, or some kind of trade. And there was never any really trades that I was interested in. And
it seemed graphic design was the closest thing to a potentially lucrative art career.
Yeah. Well, and even then it's that it's similar. So when I was going to school part-time, and it took me for fucking ever, thankfully I didn't have to pay for it as long as I got a C or better, because my job reimbursed me because it was, similar to what I was doing. What was I going to say? Oh, I thought about I hated accounting and I hated finance. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I should try and go for what I actually think I want to do, and what I've realized at this point in my life that I have an interest in. And that was graphic design. And it was going to add 4 more years to graduating. And I was 2 years into your core classes that actually go are part of your particular degree. And I was like, I need to, I'm 2 years away. I need to finish. I can't add 4 more years or 2 more years or whatever it was. And I'm like, I can't do that. But I considered it a lot, because I was like, it won't be as painful if I'm trying to learn and retain stuff that I actually care about and enjoy doing. But at the same time, although graphic design is probably the most similar, that also isn't necessarily what I want to do either.
Right.
Sure, I use Canva and I create my own, laser files and stuff, but I'm sure there's going to be bits and pieces that you'd learn in college that are similar, but they're not going to teach me that either. And so a lot of what you're going to learn is actually being in the industry, and maybe potentially someone else's course that they made, but not likely schooling, college. And so I hope at the very least we can teach our kids that if you have an art interest or some kind of creative business idea, that you can make it something, and you don't have to necessarily go to a traditional school or college. You did the trade school or whatever that was. It was a
TV.
certification. And you said that even in your industry, sometimes they kind of laughed when they actually got a 4-year journalism degree, because it was
when they would come in. Doing the tech stuff, obviously the writers and stuff, they need that degree to become anchors and reporters. But as far as the tech side, the editing and the video, they would come in with a journalism degree.
Right.
It's that's great, but we don't write. We edit to what they write. So it's kind of a different thing.
Yeah. But it's just one thing I wish, that we as young girls knew that it was possible.
They would actually entertain the fact that like maybe you can use your talents to do something with it. But like you hear these days. Oh, sorry.
No, you're
like
fine.
You hear like the rumors these days that they're like gonna budget cuts and like cut art school or art classes out and stuff. And I'm like, that was like the only thing I had to look forward to at school was if I like had an art class that I actually enjoyed. Like otherwise I hated everything about school. Like it was dreadful for me. But like I loved the various art classes. And in high school we didn't have a shop class. And like I still look back and I'm like, I really wish we would have had a wood shop class because I would have definitely liked that because I did it in middle school and like and we didn't even have that option. I'm like, I already feel like it's limited these days.
Yeah, it is. And it was starting to become limited. It was still a big thing when I went to school, thankfully. Because I remember art classes as young as elementary school. Like I think that's actually where I learned that like wavy doodle thing that I do. And thankfully it was there because like you said, I hated school and my art classes were the only things that kind of like kept me from like shutting down completely.
Yeah.
So it's sad that and PE, the only thing that like gets you actually active as much as I hated that class. Those are like the first things to go. And it's unfortunate because it's like that kind of like for those people whose brain is wired that way, you're kind of like leaving them.
Need that creative break. Otherwise it's just like so routine.
Right.
Yeah, I always had the I had the 6 periods. We didn't have that block scheduling.
We had that too.
I always liked that time in between classes in the hallways. I was like hallway roaming.
Lunch was the best time of the day.
Well, lunch was always a hit.
Right. Ridiculous.
Yeah. But hallway 101 was my favorite class. Hey there, podcast listeners. How great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape your 9-to-5 to embrace your lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Freedom to Create webinar, where you'll learn how to make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon Laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head over to eonlaser.us/whyus and sign up for the Freedom to Create webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on.
Welcome to the revolution in laser engraving. Introducing Lens Digital, the creators of the game-changing Pyburn rotary attachment. With the Pyburn 4.0, you can turn ordinary cups, tumblers, glasses, and more into extraordinary masterpieces.
Looking to engrave niche items or want the functionality of a Chuck rotary? Look no further than the Pyburn Grip, Lens Digital's Chuck-style rotary. With a range of different sized jaws, you can easily engrave a wide variety of items. All Lens Digital products are compatible with most CO2 and Galvo lasers and were designed specifically for the laser industry. All that paired with the best-in-class customer support, Lens Digital is your one-stop shop for all of your rotary needs.
Transform your laser engraving game with Lens Digital, where makers succeed. Unleash your creativity today.
And don't forget, we are proud Lens Digital affiliates as well. If you're shopping, code Riley Black will take $50 off any order of $600 or more. So how long have you been doing this? Like when did you kind of like buy your first machine and then at what point did you add in the laser?
Well, I've been doing the sign making thing for like, I think this is technically my 9th year.
Nice.
Or I think I'm going into the 9th year actually. But the scroll saw, I can't remember what year it was when I bought my first saw. Maybe I'd have to think about it. I don't know. It's been a while. And then because I've had my like newer scroll saw for I think like 4 years now, and then I had one for like 3 years before that. But the laser I've only had for 2 years, I think. Nice. I got it in September. It was 2 years.
Okay.
So just over 2 years.
And how did the laser how did you adjust to adding the laser from a scroll saw? Like, what things did you used to do on the scroll saw that you now do on the laser, and what kind of things do you still do on the scroll saw if you still use it?
I still use the scroll saw mostly for hardwoods since I can't really cut those on the laser.
Yeah.
That and you don't really want the charring and stuff on the
Right.
hardwoods. But I feel like I do a lot of stuff on the laser that I probably would have just been too lazy to do on my scroll saw or
Yeah.
like wouldn't have bothered. And then I also, well, a big reason why I like kind of got the laser too was because I had started making my scroll saw templates available for people, but I
Yeah.
had so many people who had lasers who wanted to
Mm.
use them, but they were just like my Procreate line drawings, so they worked fine
Right.
for scroll saw people, but when you drop them into a laser program, they're not gonna cut out like a puzzle, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
So I had to like learn how to make them that way so people could use them. And I'm like, well, I don't know how the laser software works, you know? And
Right.
then I had a friend who I would kind of outsource here and there with laser
Mhm.
stuff. Like I draw something and he'd engrave it and I would use
Yeah.
those backers for signs and stuff. And he's like, you need to just get one. Like, I'll help you. And I'm like, my
Yeah.
biggest thing was like, I'm scared I'm gonna pay all of this money for this machine and I'm gonna be too dumb to figure this out. Like it
Right.
looked so overwhelming to me. Like,
It
I don't know. I
is.
would see
Yeah, in
people
the
posting
beginning.
them and they have all these buttons and like
Yep.
you look at the first time you look at Lightburn, you're like, what the heck am I looking at?
Yeah.
And it was
I
like
still think that
super
sometimes.
overwhelming,
Yeah.
right? And then he finally he was like, I'll help you, I'll walk you through it, whatever. So I just got like a Chinese laser. I don't have
Yeah.
a fancy, nice one. It's just I joke that it looks like a big blue Bud Light can, basically. Like it's
Yeah.
nothing fancy.
Is it one of the
And
40s? Or is it the
sorry?
ones that they
No,
call
it's a
the blue
100
watt
watt.
or something? Yeah.
It's the brand is HL or
Okay.
HL Yeah or something.
Yeah.
Um, and my friend he's like an internet friend, he's like another maker. He
Yeah.
literally walked me through every single step. Like he's
That's
like, okay,
awesome.
now you hook up the air assist like this. Now
Right.
you like put this into the chiller. Okay, now do
Yeah.
your ramp test. And he like sent me a YouTube video and like,
Yeah.
you know, like sent me a video to align the mirrors and all that. And I had it working within like 2 days because of him. And
Yeah.
it was in September, so I pretty much made like all my money back that Halloween on
That's amazing.
my
That's
like
awesome.
Halloween collections.
And I mean,
So
that's why I love, and I'm sure there's other communities that are like this as well, but I just feel like, because I was in this quote silhouette community before lasers, because I did shirts and stuff for a couple years before I even got the laser, and I did not have the type of, it was not the same. I didn't find anybody that I was like, oh, you're my person or you're my people.
Right.
There was a lot of trademark and copyright infringement to the point where like I didn't even realize that it was like a bad thing until until I got to the laser world. Honestly, I didn't understand enough about it. And now that I know, it's like, oh, duh, I should have known better.
even they don't know. I'm pretty sure I don't go a day without seeing a Grinch something right now.
Yes.
Everybody is making the Grinch.
It was so rampant in there that it became normal. It was like, oh, everyone make
Everyone's
these.
Well,
And so
everyone's doing it.
and not even necessarily everyone's doing it, but like no one ever talked about you shouldn't do that.
Right.
And
The
they're choosing,
legalities of it.
right. No one ever said like, oh, I know it's bad. I'm an adult. I'm choosing to take that risk. You know, like I never saw those kind of comments. And so I always just like kind of assumed like, oh, and the other thing that I had in my head in the beginning was, oh, if they bought the file on Etsy, then it must be allowed, not realizing that Etsy doesn't police that stuff until the owner of it takes it down, whatever. But I never really felt that like community. I never really felt like, sure, every once in a while I'd post if I had a question and, you know, there'd be maybe, you know, one or two people who would give their suggestions and stuff. But I never really felt like, oh, if I bought this new silhouette cameo, that there's going to be that person that I have in the community who's going to walk me through it and make it less scary. And that's huge. Like, and especially with these lasers, because they're so they're not complicated, but they can be, and they can be really overwhelming. And the fact that like a couple of my friends had an Eon before me was like, oh, okay, I got this, because I know if I can't figure it out, I can reach out to my 3-4 friends ahead of me who potentially have gone through this or know where to direct me if I have any questions. And like, I mean, because if you would have bought it yourself, you may not have ever purchased the laser, or if you did, you might be in the group of people who, I mean, I see it all the time. I'm embarrassed to admit it's been sitting here for 6 months because I'm scared to use it. And thankfully for your friend, I mean,
or I would have bought like a Glowforge or something. Thank God I didn't. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
It was a different time.
Really funny. Well, it was different, and then I didn't even know that other lasers existed. Right. And for my story,
people still don't. I'm like, please don't get one. Like everybody says not to. This is what people told me, so I'm gonna tell you.
Right. and it depends, and I think it depends on the person and where you're at, like in your skill set and your journey and that kind of stuff. And like now, because I know so many people, I wouldn't recommend that, and I wouldn't even recommend it to a friend, because if I can't help you, I know I have 10 other friends behind me who can help you.
But that wasn't the case when you bought your laser.
I knew 0 people with a laser. I knew nothing about lasers. I didn't even know the thing had to be vented. I didn't know it had to be cleaned. I knew absolutely nothing. I just saw it can make cool things, and I spent money on it. But like, just, I love, long story to say, I love the laser community because we love to help other people like progress on their journey and learn something new.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects, and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So, what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser-ready blanks.
Speaking of all things laser, check out Houston Acrylic at houstonacrylic.com for reliable laser tested and laser approved materials.
Made for makers by makers, Houston Acrylic features over 450 styles of acrylic sheets. With over 50 new arrivals being released this month, Houston Acrylic is committed to bringing new and innovative styles to the laser community. My personal favorite is the matte. Anything matte. And I feel it's perfect for everything.
Don't forget to save 10% by using our exclusive coupon code TRBP10 at checkout. Get inspired today and visit houstonacrylic.com.
Do it.
How much did the laser change your business? Was it just now you have this new like passive income revenue with the laser files? And then, I mean, now you have a new community, right? Because you probably had the scroll saw community, and then you had your friend. But how did it like open things up for you?
Well, it did speed things up for me a little bit, because I can skip that cutting by hand part, but I still spend a lot of time on the things that generally sell the best for me, because I'm doing the shaping and I do a lot of hand painting. But it is an extra benefit when I can like list some of those files too, because that's kind of an additional little income. Some of them end up doing really well. Usually they won't sell unless I also make the product. It seems like unless I make the piece, they don't really they don't really perform as well.
Yeah.
But
I've noticed the same thing. It's like they can't picture it unless you do it all the way to the end. They're like, oh, that's cool.
But... Exactly. Yeah. So that was nice. And I also like to be able to add the engrave. I like to do like
score lines and that kind of stuff, right? Because you add like score lines for like some detail, or I mean, thinking about I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I mean, typically, like, I'll engrave some details. Like, I'll engrave, like, I've been doing a lot of ornaments lately. And like the Santa and snowman faces, I'll like engrave their eyes or whatever, and like that's kind of nice. Or I've done a few pieces with like engraved backers with like patterns and stuff. And I like to be able to engrave my logo onto things too.
Yes, so that's a huge like a lot of people use stamps, and that's good. That's awesome as well.
Yeah, I had a stamp before I got the laser. Now I haven't touched my stamps since.
Right. Well, and
I've made a couple of stamps.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't even think of it. I got a stamp when I had my laser, because I never really, I mean, for one, you're limited in the Glowforge, and that if my finished sign, it has to like fit in the Glowforge in order for me to, but I mean, there's also the people who engrave little like tags almost. Like in their strap, and then put it on that way. But I never really thought of like engraving my logo on the back of things. I always stamped it. But then I hated with the stamp of, you know, my OCD, if it was like
didn't go on perfect, you're screwed.
Or if it like, missed a part, or part of the stamp, actual stamp was like on there and that kind of stuff. And the laser is obviously, you know, typically more consistent.
Right.
Yeah.
What the heck? Here goes my brain again. I had a question.
There went.
Where is it? It's out the window.
That's why we shouldn't put windows.
Oh no. So the your advent calendar, would you have done something like that with those small pieces on your scroll saw, or would you have not even kind of attempted that kind of file or project?
I probably wouldn't have bothered to attempt it, just because it would have taken me so long.
Right. So much longer.
Yeah. Plus, look, I kind of made that because I was hoping that the file would be a hit. I've also been working with another company. We CNC that, and they're kind of like selling things for makers. Like, you know, some makers have like jigs and templates and things like that.
Right.
So they've kind of got this whole thing going where they're kind of like selling the people's designs for them, so that so like art kits basically. So they've been working on doing the advent calendar so that hopefully people can buy it just blank, and then it could be like a cute little family project. So my hope was with that, hopefully I can sell the actual piece. Hopefully I can sell a few more of the files, and hopefully some of the blanks will sell too. So I'm hoping it's like the gift that keeps on giving, but because I spent a lot of time on it. But you know, I mean, I've sold a few of the files so far, but we'll see.
Well, but that shows you how like versatile it can be too, because it's not only just selling the the physical product, it's in selling the laser file to other laser owners who either don't want to go through all that work or don't know how to design or design yet. And then also the blanks to people who don't have a laser or don't have a good laser. Maybe they have a diode and they're like, I don't even want to attempt cutting all these pieces, you know. But it just opens it up for so many people. And if you can't own a laser yet, finding a laser owner, or, you know, owners who can cut blanks for you is the perfect way to see, like, is this for me?
You think exactly. That was my thought too. Like, because I know that I have a fair amount of followers who are kind of interested in getting into this, but it's a laser is a huge investment. A scroll saw, you could get into that, and you could do a lot with a scroll saw.
How much are scroll saws?
I mean, anywhere from a couple $100 to $1,200, $1,300, just depending on which one you get. But, you know, you could pick one up used from Marketplace. And with, you know, I did a lot with like a jigsaw, a drill, and like a super cheap sander for a really long time. And, you know, I mean, you can do a lot with a little, and then kind of slowly figure out if you want to make like these bigger investments.
What's the technical term? Barrier for entry or something like that. So it's definitely a lot smaller with the silhouette as well. I mean, I got mine for $100 on Marketplace when I got it. And like even a new one, I was looking at a new one because my sticker printer decided to almost throw me over the edge. I was just going to replace it with a silhouette, and a brand new one was $400.
Right.
So, I had the silhouette too. I feel like most people did the Cricut. So I was also a silhouette user.
AKA cry cut.
Well,
yeah.
And the
circuit.
Right. Yep. what I did with the vinyl cutter that I didn't do with the laser, which again, the vinyl cutter was first, so I don't know why I didn't do it with a laser, was I actually researched what was best between the two. And because I didn't know which one was better, because I only knew like very like top level, like kind of what they did. And I asked a bunch of people in a bunch of groups and like a bunch of Googling, like which one's better. And the Silhouette was more like versatile. The Cricut, especially when they first started, you had to like buy these like cartridges and to do like different things. So instead of like, it was basically before it was all digital, you had to buy these like cartridges that would like go in there, and it would get really expensive. And then their design software was not good. And you couldn't like, if you made a file in which I think there's ways around it, like you can find like loopholes, but it's not like in the system. You create a file in Cricut Design Space and you can't export that as SVG.
So it's like, it stays to Cricut.
Yeah, it stays in your software. And so you can't like export that easy. Right. And so you go through all this work to create something on.
You can't do anything with it other than cut it on your own Cricut.
Right. And so kind of like you said with the scroll saw, you were able to turn some of your designs with a couple tweaks into a laser file. And you'd hope like, oh, okay, that t-shirt file that I made, that could also be a sign. Well, if you made it in Design Space without doing these couple extra like roundabout ways, you can't get it out. And I was like, oh no, I'm out. So, and it just, there was better feedback of the versatility with the Silhouette. So thankfully I got that one. And then I literally ended up helping my friend with her Cricut with certain features like that she couldn't do in Design Space, and one of them was like an offset, and I use an offset almost every single day on every single design. So I was shocked when I thought it was her. Honestly, I was like,
I would be too. I'd be like, there has to be a way.
Right? I'm like, I don't know if I believe you, Dylan. Let me go do some Googling. And I Googled it and I was like, sure as shit, you can't. I was like,
that's crazy.
All right, well, let me, because it was those signs. I don't know if you probably weren't really in the like the laser world then, but it was those mom signs. It's the knockout method, and they're really popular every single year around Mother's Day, and it's mom, and then you write all the kids' names in this one particular font. It's called I Love Glitter, but it connects each name with a heart in the middle.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of makes it like one fluid, piece. And then you add an offset around the names, and you cut that offset out of mom. And so the names kind of go through the mom, like in the background. And she wanted to make one of those and she couldn't in Cricut. And I was like, what? It's like, it's like one of the first things we teach people when we're like showing them how to do something in a design software. And it's something you couldn't do, in their
design software.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was weird. After I got my laser, I was like, I am never weeding vinyl ever again. And I don't think I've gotten my Silhouette out since. I just stopped using it.
Because it did the same thing to me.
I should sell it. I don't know why I haven't.
Right. Well, because us makers, creators, crafters, we think we're going to use it again. Yeah. You just might need it. And it was a couple years that I didn't use it before I was like willing to sell it, because I kept telling myself,
it was under your desk for the longest time.
Oh yeah. Well, and before it was under my desk, it was my
literally sitting in a container shoved under a desk right now.
Exactly.
And right inside the door.
And so the first step was it coming off of my desk and then moving underneath, like, oh, it's here if I need it. And then every time I get a potential order for it, I'd turn down that order.
Right. I would too. I would be like, oh yeah, no.
It's not even hooked up. It's collecting dust under my desk. And I'm like, okay, if I keep turning down every order, I And I was to the point where I was having my friend make stuff for me because I didn't even want to pull it out for my own personal projects, which was the last and final piece for why I was holding on to it. And I was like,
actually physically pulling it out and setting it up sounds like just as much of a chore as the actual process of using it too.
Yeah. Can I pay you $20 to just do that for me instead of me, And then
I'd probably try to figure out a way to make a stencil on my laser before I actually just pulled out the vinyl cutter.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it was finally then. And then I wasn't only storing my silhouette, I was also storing that big ass heat press. And so, and a whole tub of blank shirts.
Yep.
And a full wall of vinyl. And I was like, you know what? It's time. This is taking up valuable real estate in my tiny little office. And I sold the heat press, the whole entire kit. Yeah, the whole entire tub of t-shirts, vinyls, and the silhouette for like $200. And she was so happy and so excited.
Well, I mean, it was definitely like
it was a good deal.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. I wanted it like gone too. I didn't want to like bicker with people. I didn't want to overthink it. I didn't want to like, I'll just keep it. It's, because selling stuff on the internet, let's be real.
Especially I've been trying to get rid of my like older scroll saw and nobody wants it. I thought it would be way easier to get rid of.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what, I know that this is cheap and this will be good for someone starting out. It was almost too cheap because then I had like people like begging me, like, please, like, let me have it, or like almost like pleading their case, like why they should get it over someone else. And I'm like, this is too much pressure for me.
First come, first serve.
I said yes to the first person.
To come
as long as she shows up, then like it's hers.
Yeah.
So I was glad to it felt good to get rid of it because I knew deep down I wasn't going to use it. And then here I am a couple years later. But I'm also getting a newer version that has new, like potentially new things and like and I now have a purpose for it. That's not vinyl. I still have zero plans. If I ever purchase the silhouette again, the new one, they also made it in black, which helped.
There it is.
Yeah, mine was black actually. I had a white one first and then I got a black one and I loved that they made it in black too.
Yep.
But
and the new one
imagine they probably came really far since I bought that one too, because that was a really long time ago.
Quieter apparently. It's more low profile. It almost has like, it reminds me of those like bread holders, bread covers that have the like almost like
old school
and it's not accordion, but that's kind of like how it like tucks into the machine when it
slides into itself.
And then they have, I don't think it's out yet, but they've teased that it's coming. Basically like a mat that isn't sticky. I think they use like, it's like static, or I don't know how it adheres.
Yeah, those mats would always get like so gross, and they'd have like dust and like little stuff stuck all over, and your vinyl would be like all lumpy when you lay it down on it.
Right, and God forbid if you wanted to do like cardstock, you had to have one that was like an old
like
one that
new,
had
basically.
that it had like just enough like stickiness to hold it, but that when you were done, that it didn't tear it when you tried to get it off. Yeah. But yeah, so they've definitely come a long way. So I'm still glad that I sold it because again, it's an excuse to get the newer version if I want it. So what do you see in the near future? Like, what are your kind of business goals, or what's 2024 going to look for you? Do you think kind of more of the same, or?
Well, I got a CNC machine and I haven't used that yet. So my next goal is to figure out how to work that thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to see what I can do with that. But so that's probably my next goal, really, is to just like survive the holidays. And then I really need to have the CNC machine because I'm feeling guilty that it's just sitting in here and I'm not using it. But it's like another learning curve, basically.
Yeah. It's another thing to tackle that we tend to put off. When we're excited about it, we want it now. I want it like yesterday. Sometimes I'll even pay for expedited shipping, and then it gets here and I'm like,
yeah. Well, I got it set up, no problem. And then I learned that like you can't use most of the popular software for CNC on a Mac. And like I have a Mac. So a lot of people were like, well, just get a computer for the garage. And I'm like, oh yeah, no big deal. I'll just buy another computer. Like so I gotta figure out, there's other programs you can use and stuff, but they're like not really ones that most people are using. So I just need to take the time and you know, it's the holidays, so I'm trying to make as much money as I can in a short amount of time. But
I ran into actually the computer talk. I was talking to Heather and Will yesterday. So my computer is like 6 years old, and we replaced the battery like a year or two ago, but it's starting to kind of like act up again. It stays at 6%. Like it won't charge more than that. It's always plugged in, but it's been threatening me lately, like, oh, low battery. And I'm like, don't die on me.
And you're like, it's time to like probably get a new one before it does die and you can't use it at all.
Exactly. And so like, I don't exactly want, especially now, I don't want to spend $1,200 in November when I'm trying to make at least $1,200 instead.
Well, maybe you can get a good deal for Black Friday or something.
Oh, good. See? I didn't even think about that. But they usually try and they trick you.
Yeah, they
try to pretend like it's a deal when it's really not.
It's really not. Yeah,
they just did that to
one USB port.
The stockings that I've been waiting on to buy, the like Christmas stockings for fireplace thing. They were $9.99 when I put them in my cart. They're $11.99 now with a 10% off coupon. And the 10% off doesn't even take them back down to the $9.99. I was like, you jerks. So but I mean, that's a good idea, especially if I don't get one before then, to kind of watch and see if there are any like actual deals that are real on Black Friday. But she was Heather, she's a Mac user, and she was like, get a MacBook. And I'm like, no, Heather, because it's a new, like, yes, it would be nice because I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, and they would all communicate together. I get that. But there's Lightburn and Mac tend to kind of fight sometimes. Silhouette and Macs kind of fight sometimes. My sticker printer doesn't even work on a Mac as far as I know. It didn't before. I don't know if they've added it, obviously, because it's not anything that I need to know right now. So little things like that, I would still have to have some kind of PC to run certain things, and that's just
that's the downside.
Not worth it
that's
for me.
The downside of the Mac is that whole Apple universe
compatibility.
Everything. Well, it's not necessarily compatibility. It's what is that? Proprietary.
Yeah,
like it's that. They don't. You can't. You. It's hard to use like another keyboard or another mouse.
Exactly.
It's a little.
Well, that was my thing with people being like, just get a. I'm like, I haven't used a PC, and I can tell you how long I've always been a Mac user. So I'm like, I'm a devoted Mac user. Like, I don't even know how to use a PC anymore.
And that's how they get you.
Yeah.
Because like a PC,
they suck you in for life.
They kind of get you used to the environment of how everything talks to each other. So when you step out of that, you're like, oh, none of this stuff works with each other. Or like you have to go through
that's like one of my favorite things. Like they're all compatible and everything. It's so nice.
That is awesome. And like
that's
AirDrop.
Why I've considered it.
I'm always airdropping things back and forth to my various devices and stuff.
And especially like coming from a video background using a Mac, you know, you shoot something on your iPhone, I just airdrop it to my MacBook. And then you could edit there instead of having to take this memory card, put it in the computer. You know, you can still do
Dropbox it to myself.
Or Dropbox,
I do.
Still do it. Or
same with me with like my iPad and all my designs. I can just airdrop them to the computer and start working like really quickly. Start working on the
that's
computer.
How they get. That's how they suck you in.
And that's why I've considered both. But I'm like, if I ever got a Mac, I'd have to have both. And I'm like, that you're only increasing what it's going to cost me now. I'm like, no, Heather,
get the Mac, but then just get another new battery and use the current computer as the backup.
Another new battery.
Oh, you decided to.
But I need you to research it because the one I got before isn't available anymore.
Okay.
So I need you to find me a new one. So we'll try battery again first. Back everything up. Speaking of backing shit up, this is a good opportunity to remind you. Redundancy is key.
Yes.
Back your shit up. It will happen to you. You just don't know when. So be prepared, because thankfully it's almost happened to me before. And thankfully I got my shit together. I didn't do it right away like I should have, but I eventually got some backup software. I use Backblaze and I love it, specifically because I had to test it and it saved my ass. I had it was a Microsoft update. Thank you, PC. And it wiped my, from what I could see, my important file where I save everything.
It's not gonna get the ones that you don't care about.
On my hard drive. And all of my shit was gone for like years and years and years and years and years. And it was, man, that was some stress I would not wish on my enemy.
It wasn't gone for years. It was years
of work
gone.
That was gone. Yeah. And thankfully for Backblaze, I was able to get it all back. So, and even now, I was telling you the other day that I need to be even more redundant just because like 2 isn't enough. Like you almost need like 3, you know.
Sorry, my dog.
Someone's at the door.
Right.
Somebody must be here. I might have to go investigate. She doesn't usually bark unless there's like something to bark at.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, you're go ahead. Stop. No,
wow, they should be able to use evidence,
right?
It's literally just somebody walking their dog. You thought it was like a bear.
Was so funny. Did you hear him say we'll be able to use this for evidence?
Right. They're technically like guardian dogs for our farm animals. So like some days like they decide to bark at everything that moves, and other days they're like sleeping in a bush. So
yeah. So you're on a farm. Tell us more about that. That sounds fun. What you got?
Yeah, we have goats, ducks, and rabbits. They're all rescue animals. So yeah,
that's
and then
awesome.
we have the dogs who live outside mostly full time to protect them from the predators. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I want goats.
Bah.
Yeah. They're like, I always joke that since I don't have kids, that like the farm has to like count for like, it has to be like the equivalent amount of work as like at least like one child, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know how people like balance everything. It keeps me busy.
I've seen people who like on TV who have like a farm and I see like the stuff that they have to do, like how early they tend to get up and like feed everything, and like
the goats will start yelling if they're not fed.
Goats yelling is kind of my favorite thing, but that's also because I don't have them, so I probably
like I'll be outside working and stuff, and usually like sometime in the afternoon I'll go out and like do some chores and I'll give them some hay, and if I'm not out there by like a certain time, they start yelling at me.
Yeah, that's our pig.
Yeah, she
gets real mad if
you have a pig.
Yeah, we have a pig. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
She gets mad if like she doesn't. So she's claimed, even though she's fenced into her pen, she's claimed the whole backyard is hers. So when the boys are outside playing, she'll like grunt and be like, "Get out of here! You're making too much noise. This is my piece.
Right? Can you go away?"
Yeah.
Is she big?
So she's considered a mini pig, but mini pigs are technically anything under 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
She's probably 100 something. Yeah.
Maybe a little less, maybe a little more.
Small for like obviously like not a hog or like potbelly pigs. I think those are tend to be around 300.
Yeah.
So she's small-ish, but
and
man,
she
the
was
attitude
the runt of her litter.
But.
Yeah. People always ask me, they're like, "When are you gonna get pigs?" And I'm like, I don't think I want to do the pigs.
I mean, listen, if you want,
I hear that they're really fun.
So they're very, very smart. But they're like toddlers for life. So they just, they're a lot. They have some attitude.
Yeah, she sleeps a lot though too.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
she does sleep a lot.
So they're not like super active.
Ridiculously smart. I mean, we taught her tricks and she learned them in literally like 5 or 10 minutes, and so still knows them, even though we don't do them really like practice them much anymore. And then there was my dog who I couldn't teach to do anything for forever.
They say that they're like way smarter than dogs.
Oh yeah. Way smarter. And we had like 5 or 6 pens before we found one that we like built to like withstand her before, because she figured out every single one.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was a lot.
How to get out?
They're very good. They're very strong. Their like snout is like insane, even from like little.
Would she like wander off?
Yes, she actually did once.
But scary.
luckily,
she got out
she's
once.
very food motivated.
Yeah,
So
you can get her back easy as long as you know.
And you can also take her very easily.
This is true.
So if you ever want to steal a pig, just
need snacks.
Just show up with like some Cheerios or some fruit or something, and they'll follow you to the ends of the world, and not like bite you, not attack. They'll just.
That's how the goats are too.
Right.
All you have to do is like crinkle a bag, and they will just come running.
That's like toddlers too.
Yeah. So she does.
Like kids,
She does the same thing. I just jiggle some Cheerios, and she'll be like, "Oh, there's Cheerios over there."
So when we moved into our house, the first house in Florida, we had her pen that we actually used indoors in Colorado, and we set it in the backyard, but it was just like quick, temporary, and it wasn't like completely.
It was sitting on like some roots.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
flat and level. And so she was able to like jiggle the lock and like unlocked it and got out. And our Jamaican neighbors, Penny came home from work and she was like, do you guys have a pig? Because we were the new neighbors on the street. And she was
just like a pig on their road.
She was walking down the street, and I had to run outside in like my, house shorts and slippers, like running to go get my pig. And I got her, and then like everyone was outside like, fuck is this white girl doing?
There's probably videos of you.
Totally. I'm sure
the lady with her pig.
Yeah, and she was like, she goes, "You're lucky I'm Jamaican. We don't eat pig." I was like, "Oh, yeah." I'm glad we're not in a Cuban neighborhood, because she would have been someone's
especially
dinner.
Around this time of year.
Sometimes the Amazon drivers and stuff will like say that to us. They'll be like, "Oh, you have the food right in your backyard." But like, actually, they're rescues, so that's like the opposite,
right?
Like they've actually been saved from that.
Every time I pet Piggy, I grab her right behind the cheek.
Oh, she has the
big jowls. I'm like, that's where the nice, good, sweet meat is. Right?
What's her name?
Piggy Smalls.
That's
the notorious PIG.
Yep.
That's great.
Thanks, Google, for that one. We really just call her Piggy, but that's her technical.
Yep.
If she had a birth certificate, that's what I would say.
Piggy Smalls.
That's funny.
So did we ask what advice would you give to a new or struggling laser/business owner? What would you tell you when you started?
I guess, for new, if you haven't bought a laser, I would just like consider the investment and try not to waste your money on like a quote unquote beginner laser, because I mean, even looking back, I probably could have, bought something nicer.
Yeah.
But like, I was like scared that I wasn't going to be able to figure it out or something, or, and like now, one of these days I'd like to maybe upgrade and just get something a little bit nicer, or I know one of these days it's probably going to break on me and I'm going to be like scrambling. I don't want that to happen, so knock on wood. But that, and just like, don't compare yourself to everybody else.
Good one.
Like, whether that be like your person up the street who's also making laser stuff, or I see all the time people are like posting like pictures of Walmart or dollar store, and they're like, how are we supposed to compete with this? I'm like, we're not. Those aren't your customers. Like, just you shouldn't see that stuff and feel threatened, because that's not going to be, you just got to kind of find what works for you, and it might not be what's working for somebody else. And and it doesn't come like immediately either. Right. And I feel like it's harder for me because to like be in this position, like I already had an established business. I already have like a customer base. And so it was kind of like an evolution of my business. But if you're kind of starting from nothing, it's probably going to take some time to build up that client base, and it's to build up that, like not everybody can just start an Etsy store and start making
and go viral
hundreds of dollars. Right, exactly.
Because we've had some of those stories. We've had some of the stories where like I literally, I bought it, I made a couple things, and then all of a sudden I had 100 orders for this one thing. And it's like, it's amazing if that happens, but that doesn't mean that if that doesn't happen for you, that you did anything wrong, that it's not like for you. It just means that your path and your story is a little bit different, and to keep going. And like, especially comparing yourself to people on social media. Like, I'll talk to, friends or family, And it's happened a couple times where they'll be like, "Oh, I see that business is amazing and it's booming for you." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, little do you know that I'm like, I only made $100 like, this month on my files or whatever, like for months where it wasn't booming, but I have to put it out there. I have to put some kind of content out there. And, it may be booming to the next person, but to me, it's a month that I feel wasn't so great, but everyone sees what to them looks like success. And it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is if you're comparing yourself to someone else, especially if you're following, someone who has like
the Instagram versus reality or internet versus reality.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's how it's been for me too. Like it's actually been really slow. This is probably my worst year in a while, but it's just kind of like, I know a lot of people are feeling that way too. And it's just like, well, just going to have to hustle through because I don't want to be a waitress again. So we're going to figure something out here.
Right. Yeah. I was telling John yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm like, we got to figure out something so that, because we, as soon as you get a taste of like that working for yourself life, you never want to really go back to that. And even if we ever did, for me, it would be a temporary thing, like for right now, while things settle a little bit or whatever. But yeah, it's hard not to compare yourself because I mean I do the same damn thing. I'm like, how are they
especially on social media?
Yes,
like my socials have been really, really slow too, and I'm like looking at other people who are doing really well, and I'm like, what the heck is going on?
I'll post something, it takes you forever to make that stupid content. You'll post it, and then it gets like 3 likes, and if you're lucky, a comment, and then you scroll past someone else's, and you see like 50,000 likes, and it's not even like good sometimes, and you're like
I'm sure people probably see my following and think like, oh well, you have so many followers. I'm like, yeah, but that number has not moved in a very long time, and if it does, it moves down these days. So like I can promise you that it's like taken a really long time to get here, and it has just frozen. So
I don't even look at the counts anymore because I swear I'll gain like 5 and lose 7, and I'm like, oh, that's wonderful for me. I love to see those numbers.
Like our YouTube channel was stagnant for a while, but now it's been climbing a little bit.
Recently. So I mean, I think this last month we got like 20 something, but still, like we've been trying for 1,000 for, I mean, since we started, and we're 985 and we're like 15 away, and I swear like we'll do.
You guys ever post shorts?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, I feel like those have helped me grow.
They do
quite a bit, but
I'll have that short every once in a while that'll do really well. But I don't feel like a lot of people end up following from the shorts. I have had a couple people do it. But like the views, unfortunately for me, at least with our podcast, haven't like turned into like the followers yet. But yeah, I mean, listen, we're all struggling. And even the people who have orders, they're kind of struggling in a different way because they know that others are struggling, and it's hard for them. They can't like vent about also being busy, being hard. Because they feel like they're ungrateful.
Being busy is hard though too. A lot of the I kind of took a huge step back from custom orders just because it got like kind of draining, and that's one of the things where I'm like, well, if all else fails, I could probably post something that I'm open for customs, but I'm like, I don't really want to do customs.
Same. I mean, we just opened that up for customs and stuff, and I like selfishly haven't been pushing it too hard because it's not really what I want my long-term goal to be. It's just my like right now goal. And that I can tell that that's showing in obviously how much I'm talking about it because I'm not posting.
I don't really ever push for them either, but I'll entertain them if I'm asked.
Yep.
Like I think you had said in one of the other episodes that I listened to of yours, like you were like not the kind of person who can like pump out like 500 of the same ornament, and that's how I am too. Like that is just such a chore for me. Like and you were like, like every 100 I'd be like, okay, 200 more to go, and like that's how I look at that too. And some people like thrive on that. People love that. They're like, I just got an order for 1,000 ornaments, and I'm like, 1,000? I could not make 1,000 of them. There's not a single thing that I can make 1,000 of by my old self. Like, that just gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
Exactly, right.
Like, sure, that price tag sounds good, but like, 1,000 of the same thing.
Right. Well, like I said on
you
that,
just count them by dollars.
well, like I said on that,
I can't even count that high now.
I know, like what it turned into was, when I wasn't accepting a payment up front in the beginning, it was like, okay, I got to finish this. And the motivation was getting
like
that couple $100 at the end. Right. And that was like, okay, good. But then when I started accepting payment up front, which is obviously, what I do now.
Right. Then there's zero motivation to even finish
because
them.
now you've already paid me. And sometimes like that went to like pay for something else. Or now I went and bought something to, that I've been wanting to buy. And then it's like, well, fuck, now I have to make it. And I don't even really have the money anymore.
Yeah, there's like nothing to even look forward to.
I feel the same way.
Other than it being gone.
Yeah, weddings.
Yeah, I feel the same way about shooting weddings.
Yeah.
And editing them and all that.
Yeah. Except that one guy. He has some really cool.
Well, I mean,
but that's different.
It's changing. Yeah. It's changing what weddings are.
Yeah.
He's just
documentary.
I think he felt the same way, but is in that space, like trenched in that space. Is like, how can I make this different? How can I stand apart?
How can I make this more fun?
Yeah. How can I make it more fun for myself and stand apart?
Right.
But even those aren't like he doesn't post those often because he's only like he's starting that. But in order to get that, he's got to do the 1,000 order. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
It's like before you could do that custom that you love,
right?
That you love to make, you have to get through these 1,000 ornaments or these 1,000 keychains or this order of 500 tumblers or whatever. Which tumblers aren't bad, but it's still like doing the same thing over and over again.
Over and over,
instead of making this piece that you're like teasing and you really want people to see.
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel the same way about weddings.
I think this is a good point to plug her discount code.
Yes.
So she was gracious enough to give us the 2 discount codes. So we have the one
General
for everybody. And that one is TRBP 15, right?
Yep.
For 15%. And then there's a bigger one.
There's a nice one
for our for the paid members.
That's right. So if you want,
and that's on my website too. I do have have some of my files on Etsy, but most of them are on my website. Like,
and what's the website?
Kendra'sGotWood.com.
Okay.
Nice.
And so if you want that bigger discount, you
gotta sign up for Patreon.
Listen, you sign up for Patreon. Here's the hack. You sign up for Patreon, right? And then you buy 2, maybe 3 things using the discount code from our guests. It pays for itself in the
Girl mathing.
I have a lot of files to choose from too.
See?
Right?
See?
And I've got some cute new Christmas ones too.
That's right. So I mean, you can go ahead and get the 15% like everybody else.
Right.
You can do that. You can do that. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want the real savings, you gotta join Patreon. And listen, I know it's an upfront cost.
Yeah.
But you're gonna make it back in the savings. I promise you.
Right.
And you're supporting multiple small businesses.
Exactly.
2 for 1. 3 for 1.
I love it.
Yeah.
BOGO. If you buy enough, it could be a BOGO.
It could. So where can people find you?
Well, I'm on pretty much all the social platforms, and I'm Kendra Scott Wood on all of the things.
Nice.
On Instagram and TikTok, it's Kendra's_Gotwood, but it's just Kendra's Gotwood everywhere else. YouTube,
Awesome.
Facebook.
Perfect.
Did the Pinterest thing for a little while. I've been kind of slacking, but
yeah, I know I've heard good things about that, but it's something you got to like look into and see how to do it.
I gotta imagine it performs
algorithms like everything else.
Yep. Gotta love those.
Perfect. Well, Kendra, thanks for spending an hour with us and talking with us. No one move.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And no one move, especially you guys, because our life update's coming up next. And we're back.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired today.
I'm tired. Listen, I'm tired every day.
Yeah. But
speaking of what?
No, I'm just saying I'm tired. It seemed like everyone in the house was tired today because everyone.
Yeah, everyone slept in.
Well,
today.
tried to.
Yeah.
Because I was the first one to wake up, and I'm not. Usually, JR is the first one, and he wakes my mom up. And then when I go to get him, I hear Jackson waking up.
Yeah.
Not today. Everyone was sound asleep.
Yeah. It's been rough for me lately.
Yeah, it's been a rough week.
It's just
eye leakage.
Man, so I have, what is it? The conjunctivitis, or the fancy word for pink eye. And it wasn't my kids this time.
Due to
well,
cold or
potentially. So typically the kids, who knows? It's usually because they're gross. But like pink eye and the conjunctivitis, I think is like the fancy name for it. It can be caused from anything, from a cold, allergies. Yes, also bacteria. There's a couple different kinds and stuff. And we're
not
sitting
all
on
pink eyes made the same.
Yeah. We were sitting on the couch Sunday and I was like, my eye feels like kind of cloudy. And I went to go look at my eye and like there was literal like gunk on my eye. I was like, goop. Wonderful. This is great for me. And it just yesterday I was just so frustrated because it's just been like it's been one thing after another. And a lot of times they're like stacked on top of each other because like for a while it was like, okay, I'll have like a couple weeks where I'm not sick and I don't feel like trash.
Right.
And then it was like a couple days. And then like now it's like I don't even finish one before some new symptom shows up. Like I'll cough a little less and then 2 days later I'll have a coughing attack, or I'll be okay and then or I'm still coughing, and now my throat hurts when it didn't hurt yesterday. And so it's like it's wearing me down, like literally. I feel like a broken record because I'll go through these things where like I'm just sick all the time, and then people will give me like suggestions, and then like things will kind of get better, and then it just a couple months go by, and then here it is again. It doesn't help having the kids in school and daycare, the time of year. And I just feel like everybody's sick all the time now. And it's like with worse things. Like I've heard several stories of where like there's a class of 20 kids and only 3 are there because like flu ravaged the class or whatever. So whatever. That's been my struggle. And I'm trying to, it mentally kind of was starting to wear on me. It was like, I have all these goals and these things I want to accomplish, but it's hard when you feel like shit every day.
Yeah, and it's hard to like motivate yourself and push through when you just don't feel good.
Yeah. So. And again, because I don't know how to, I'm learning, but I don't know how to do the in between. I either do it all and then I pay for it the next day because I did too much, or I don't do enough, but then the next day it's not like not doing enough made me feel better the next day. Always.
Right. You still feel
I still feel like crap. So I kind of I have to like learn on finding that happy medium and doing as much as I can and trying to like consciously make sure I'm not pushing it too far. But that's what's going on with me. That's why you're gonna see these glasses for probably a couple episodes potentially. But some good news is that when this one airs, it will be the week of Black Friday, be the week of Thanksgiving.
This Friday?
Well, so Friday, that's for
this would be the
paid
week
members.
Before.
Yes.
Oh, right. Monday.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Monday is the week of Thanksgiving and Black Friday.
So remember to start thawing out your turkeys.
Yeah. No, I don't care about that. We're talking about my stuff and them sending me money.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think I can do a temporary discount on Patreon, but if we can, I'll do it. There will be sales everywhere where I can have a sale.
Right.
So keychain thingies, files, and there will be a huge sale on.
Are you running? Is this you?
Huge sale.
You saying you're gonna run
for Silhouette President. I'm just kidding. No, I don't want that. No. But the course will be majorly discounted. Thanks to our good friend Will. He gave us a cool little like spin on it.
Oh.
I won't say much more than that.
Okay,
but it'll be a big discount, and it'll be a cool little twist. That I think will be good for the current times and for our community. So
cool.
Yeah, BOLO for all of the sales that are coming up for Black Friday. And I think that's all we got.
Yeah, that's all we got, especially since I heard a noise over there. Gotta go investigate that now.
I think it was the garage door.
You think so?
Yeah.
Sound like a door. Whatever.
Whatever.
I'll go see what happens.
We just got to make sure no one's
Hopefully
intruding.
my mom didn't fall.
Oh God. That's all we would need.
So So stay tuned to next week to find out if she fell. And as always, please sign up for Patreon.
Yes. Please.
Yeah,
you literally would be paying for JR's soccer that I need to sign up for.
If he makes it in time, we have to sign up for it.
Yeah,
sign him up for it. But it's a great way. It's a great way to get some extra discounts on top of what our guests already give you for the general admission. Yes. It's a great way to save a little bit more money. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to send those savings over to us. You're gonna spend the money anyway.
Yeah,
might as well kick a little back.
The show.
Yeah. And with that, it's been a great episode of the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done.